BeastNet Podcast, sponsored in part by James Safety Services, OCR Buddy, and supported by the fitness community. Here we discuss all things fitness related, running, rucking, mental health and preparedness, and of course, obstacle course racing. Welcome to the BeastNet.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode
We don't
of
play hard.
My brain just went dead for a second. Welcome to another episode of BeastNet with me, Pretty Mike, and I've got with me today Russ. Russ, let everyone know kind of who you are.
I am Russ Blatt. I am the creator and founder of OCR Buddy, the world's only calendar and database app for the obstacle racing community. I am also, I am also the athlete chair and on the board of directors for USAocr, Obstacle Course Racing here in the United States, our national federation. So I'm pretty well involved here in our sport of obstacle course racing.
Which is awesome. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I've gotten to know you from doing the podcast. Have we ever actually met in person?
No, we have not. I haven't really left the northeast of the United States for obstacle racing.
That's right.
I don't travel too much. My family life keeps me busy on the weekends, but I get to get away a few times a year. When I do, typically it's out here at Jersey at Mountain Creek or up at Killington. So my travel's limited.
I want to get up to those ones. I mean, now that I live, because everyone knows I moved to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Houston area, we're getting ready for the world to freeze over here. So everyone's freaking out. But ever since I moved down here, I'm able to hit the East Coast better. So I can go to those races. I've gone to, Florida. I did the USAocr Nationals in Georgia. I raced with More Heart Than Scars, both races on Saturday. And then I judged on Sunday. I was one of the judges for, and volunteered, which was very cool. Megan was a huge help. She was so amazing, and
She's great.
Getting us judges to understand what we needed to do and to make sure that we kept it fair and honest, and explained quite a bit to us, which was awesome.
Megan I'll stop on that for a second. Megan, We're talking about Megan Beck. She's also known as the OCR trainer, for those that don't know. And she is the development chair for USAocr, which is she is also on the board of directors. And her big focus and role for that national championship was basically to get people trained and certified at level 1 on the certification training, which some of us had to do, and 2, have all the judges prepared and ready, not just for the event itself, but the specific obstacles that they were at. It was a hard task, and I know that she put every ounce of energy that she had into it. And from what I've heard from people such as yourself and others, that it was almost seamless and very well received. And I've told this to her personally, but she did a fantastic job.
Oh, she did. I love Megan. Megan comes on the show like once a month. In fact, you should listen to the episode where we talked about USA Nationals. She was my savior that weekend. So if it wasn't for her, I'd probably still be at the Georgia airport.
She travels a lot, so she knows her way around.
It was a trip. It was definitely an interesting trip, and Megan's amazing. I love Megan. But yeah, so I mean, you're involved in a lot of that stuff, and like you said, the OCR Buddy, which is an app that if people don't have it, you should be using it. I use it quite a bit to look at different things that are coming up. I know you've been talking about it and working on expanding a little bit, but there's a lot of work because it's you.
One guy. Well, I'm mostly one guy. I do have help. Bonnie Wilson, people know her from her old days at Mud Run Guide. She works with me. I call her OCR Buddy West because she's out in the Pacific Northwest. She does a lot of work as well. I can't take all the credit, but she does a lot of work for it. But it's a labor of love. It really is. And that, people don't know that every event that goes on that app is personally approved by myself or Bonnie. We look at each one. We search the events. The events are put in manually. There's nothing. The only thing that we have generated right now is from DECA. They give us a spreadsheet that we can look at and download once every 2 weeks. But besides that, every other event is put in by hand. So it is a lot of work to do it. But you know what? It's rewarding as well.
Mhm.
When
It is.
people, people will say, "Hey, I didn't know of this event until I saw the app," or "Hey, I didn't know that this even existed," or any of those kind of comments. That makes it all worth it because you don't know who is going to be that one person that finds obstacle racing.
Mm.
All of us who are in it found it somewhere. And, there may be that one person who finds an event in, you know, Tuscaloosa or somewhere in like Lee Summit, Missouri, or somewhere out there that brings a friend, and you never know that friend, they may be hooked just because they found this 5K local 5K on the app because they didn't want to do a Spartan or a Tough Mudder, and Savage scared them off because they didn't want to do 6 miles. So there's so many different little intricacies and parts about it that I love doing it. There's, like I said, it comes from us. We do the work all by hand. There's no, we don't charge events to be on the app. We don't, for all the various little things that we can list that we do. Um, unless it's a sponsorship kind of thing, we don't charge anybody because we want the people to reach something where there's no barrier in the way. It's literally, it's on your app. You could download OCR Buddy at the App Store or Google Play, or it's online. We have the desktop version, which is a parallel of the app at ocrbuddy.com/app. So it's there. It's free to download. It's free to sign in. There's no cost to you as the user. And it is something that, is, me speaking, it's a valuable tool, almost invaluable, but not just for the calendar, but for the various other parts that we could bring to users and the athletes.
Yeah, I mean, and it is. It's valuable. I mean, I kind of have to say it 'cause, I mean, I don't know if you see the OCR Buddy ambassador
Right.
sticker there,
There you
but
go.
on my iPad.
You're one
But
of us.
it's one of those things. I mean, it works really well. It helps find things. I mean, that was one thing when I first moved to Houston. It's, okay, now that I'm in Texas, I knew what was in Seattle, or thought I did. I found some extra ones. I know OCR Buddy when I was up there, but moved down here to Texas, and I'm like, okay, now what do I have around me? Where can I go race and stuff like that. So it's been cool to kind of look for those, find those things. Cause I have my goals for the year. Most of my goals right now are more around triathlon, but I'm still doing the OCRs and all that stuff when I can. So, I mean, it's pretty
And there
cool.
are a bunch down there. Yeah, there's a bunch
Hmm.
in Texas and a couple up in Oklahoma. So there's definitely the small ones out there that you can easily find. So, I know Texas is a
And
little big is a little big state. So,
it is.
when you say it's local, may not be local, within a few hours, but there's, that's that's the beauty of the app is that person finding the events.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, like talking about the size of Texas. I always make fun because there's two of us from More Heart Than Scars that are in Texas. Everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are in the same state." I'm like, "Yeah, but he's 8 hours away from me
Yeah.
driving."
Yep. Yeah. It's not Delaware.
Yeah, no, it's like he's 8 hours away. That's how far I would have to drive to go see Henry. So, but
Yeah.
and that's kind of the cool thing. Like you can find those local races and stuff like that to really give you into it. Because, like you said, I mean, I've had those races. Like my wife will never do a Spartan. She won't do a Spartan. She won't do Savage. None of those ones. She's like, no, that's too much, too much. But she would do the smaller ones, Warrior, stuff like that. That that are unfortunately gone now. But some of those smaller races, she would go do those with me because they were fun.
Yeah. And that's, there's of, obviously there's people who are hardcore into the sport and the sport of obstacle course racing, OCR.
Hmm.
And, they're the ones and they're out there and they're buying the Spartan Pass and they're doing 30 events a year and they're, hitting the Savage Pros, the private series, the Savage Pro Series up and they're doing a variety of different events. And there's also another level. And that's really the crux of the sport as well. Because I've always had this belief, and this might have been part of why one of the way I got started is that it's almost like you need these other events, these Spartans and the Tough Mudders, and with people hear the distances, and they hear the stories, and like, oh, I don't want to do a 10-mile race as my first one. Where's these shorter ones? And it's almost like a feeder system. If you don't have these other smaller events and supporting the smaller events, the local events, there's that shot that people are never going to move up to trying other events. Some people are comfortable doing I don't want to say an event because I don't want to insult anybody to say, oh, they're like a small event. But like, Joe Starter OCR, a mud run in a small town, but they get excited on doing that and they complete it and you get that high. And what do? You go on the app, you try to find something that's near you and go, oh, look, I got this, I got that, I can do this. You could set it within 100-mile radius of where you live and say, well, look, there's 16 events I can do in the next 12 months. So
yeah.
And one thing, and I've said this, is that I think and just on a tangent, and I've said this to people there, I think Spartan is missing the boat where I think they should do a 3K event and call it the Spartan Starter, because I've done Spartans, like, I'm up here in the Northeast United States, and the Mountain Creek, New Jersey, Tri-State New Jersey is a very popular event, but it's not easy. And Joe will say it, and it's true. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to push you. It's supposed to test you. However, if that's the first event you're doing and you're broken from it, you're not coming back to the sport in general, because that's your impression. However, these smaller events that you feel accomplished when you finished, you feel like you did something. It's you against you, and the battle of internal and completing it. That's what pushes people on. That's what motivates people to go forward. And that's where, just to go on my tangent, I think, Joe, if you're listening, if you hear this, Spartan Starter, 3K, small 3K at the same venue, you'll get people to do it. And I think that you'll get people then to build themselves up through your ranks. But that's just my little
I'll be honest, I completely agree. That's what I kind of hoped when they got Warrior, when they bought Warrior, because a lot of people forget that they bought Warrior Dash.
Yep.
That when they bought Warrior Dash, that's what they were going to do, because that's kind of what Warrior was. It's a stepping stone to Spartan. Because for me, before I did any of those, I did, a lot of these don't even exist anymore. Gladiator Rock and Run. I did, Hell Run, Slime Run, Survivor. I mean, all these little, I guess little events that most of them, like I said, don't even exist anymore. And Warrior, and did all those before I'm like, oh, okay, I can do these, a step up to a Spartan, no big deal.
And Rugged Maniac too.
Yeah, and Rugged Maniac. I'd done those before I did Spartan. So I did all those before, so
For
like I
those,
said, those
for
were the
those,
stepping stones.
for those that don't know, Warrior Dash and Rugged Maniac were two national 5K brands that were a little bit above a starter, but not to a point that you're broken when you finished. And
Yeah.
they were fun events. They were good events. And somewhere around 2016 or so, 2017, Warrior Dash closed in the middle of the season. Spartan bought the name. They didn't do anything with the events. They bought the name, mostly probably for the mailing list and some of the rights to the use of the property of the name. And then, was it 2024, last year, just as the year was starting, Rugged Maniac closed the doors. And they, and I reached out to the vice president of the company, who was their parent company, and I tried to find out why. And the email response I got was, please don't ask any further questions about Rugged Maniac. So I didn't.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I didn't. And, Rugged Maniac and Warrior Dash were very popular events. People loved them, and don't know why that they didn't continue. And to this day, I think some people are very perplexed by it. But, there's, there are other brands that, have very good reputation, smaller companies. Mythic Race and is one out, in the Midwest, who's a very popular event. Warex,
Trace, Warex.
yeah, so there are events that people that can go to that are popular, that will push you, that will test you. But then there's also others that, listen, you go and the goal is to have fun. The goal is to, maybe just remember the first time that you did a race and got a medal and a t-shirt. Just remember
Yeah.
that feeling, and I'm not talking about, the elites who, were, marathon runners in college. That's not, the everyday person. Remember that feeling. And that's what the whole sport really is about, at least to me. And I think that's what we try to help bring back with our community, with our OCR Buddy community. Um, yeah, I could just keep going forever. I really could.
Well, I mean, you can hit the nail. It's the community. I mean, we go out to these races, and these little ones, these smaller races, get that feeling of community back. And that's one of the things, I'll be honest. And I mean, you know, I, the bigger races since COVID, I have not had that feeling of community. This last year, a little bit more, but I think that's more because I was racing with more heart than scars. So I already had that feeling of community when I got there. But that was the one biggest thing before COVID. I mean, I could go to a race, fly out to wherever, and walk onto into the festival and be best friends with half the festival in 30 minutes. You're
Yeah,
partying, you're talking, you're having a great time. And I just, it's been rough for me because the bigger events, I haven't seen that as much. The smaller ones, I still do.
well, that's also just, I think, a sign of the times. I
Yeah.
really do. I think that there are people now who are going to the events and just leaving when they're done. Spartan is bringing back the biggest team for 2025, which I think was a very good communal place
Hmm.
for whatever team it was, whether it was down in Texas at Lone Star Spartans, you know, Spartan 40, had many of those big, the 10 team tents. I think that's part of it. And it's a good start. I know Savage, and I've never been to a Savage race. They've never been up where I can get to one. They have a very good community. Some of
Yeah.
these other smaller ones that have a history have a very good community sense. So I think that that's coming back. And what I have noticed in speaking to a lot of smaller, and again, I'll say this, we're also speaking mostly here US experiences.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
I think that from what I know, experiences around the globe are very different. And I think that the community in other parts of the world are very different and very more of, as you were describing, of what you've had. So,
Yeah. I have heard that.
so um, I got myself on a tangent and I lost my point. But I think that it's coming back. I think that there's sorry, these small local 5Ks. They're doing some stuff. Then I've probably spoken to or been in touch with 85% of the race directors in the country, honestly, just over the years. And if you go on their websites, it's not just, hey, there's a race and then you get a t-shirt and then there's, hey, there's a band playing and we have the food trucks and we have some games afterwards and come hang out and stay here. And I think that's a lot, some of these are fundraisers where that's, where they're making their money too, but that does bring that sense of community that you're talking about. And I think
Yeah.
it's important for people to feel that they belong, whether they are at the race, whether they participate in the race, they finish it, they don't finish it. I think that feeling of belonging, which I think is a human trait that we all look for, I think is something that is important to the sport because I think something we're all choosing to do. It's something we're all
Hmm.
experiencing together. It's not as if, granted, someone might be doing an ultra and someone else might be doing a sprint. However, some of those obstacles you're all doing together. You're all crossing the same finish line no matter what your time is. And when you're all done, you're all hanging out. So,
Yeah. Which I think that was the thing is, I mean, there was a lot of them. Like I can remember one of the biggest things, my favorite part of Warrior Dash was when you finished, the festival was like a party.
oh
It
yeah,
was a
yeah.
huge party.
Rugged did a
Uh,
good one too.
yeah,
Rugged made.
Rugged did that really well too. And it just feels like, after Spartan or after COVID, and my experience with Spartan, and just because that's the one that I've been doing the most, because like I said, I've kind of stepped a little bit away from OCR and more into the triathlon field. Um, But the Spartans that I've done, that feeling of the festival just isn't there anymore. They don't have the loud music and the party and the just having a blast afterwards.
I'll tell you
So,
though, where I go to them, they have it. I'll tell you that. So,
I'll say I haven't seen it that
yeah,
much.
maybe that might be a localized thing or a regional thing, but
Might
where
be.
when I've been to Killington, Killington is usually a pretty good community. Up in Jersey, they do a
Or maybe
pretty,
I'm just so dead afterwards, I'm not noticing it.
yeah, it's but I will push back a little bit on you with that, where my experiences are different. Um, and I think that it might be regional. It might be just how many people they can get, what tents they, what sponsors, what brands. Um,
Yeah.
could just be that people are on a 1 day race. They drive 2 hours, they're there, they race for 5. I know now I got to drive 2 hours home, so I'm not going to sit around here and BS for, there could be a bunch of factors,
Yeah.
and
There could be.
that's also feeding into one of the benefits of Buddy itself, is that feeds into finding other events, trying
Mhm.
other things, meeting people and saying, "Hey, what events are you going to?" And then you can say, "Hey, well, go look at the app." Which I've actually had people say to me, "Hey, I've used that app," which is another great feeling when you're on a race course in Mountain of Killington and someone runs by you going, "Hey, OCR Buddy, how are you?" But
Oh
um,
yeah.
so it's there's we I think that the community is the community. I think that, and I have a bunch of friends who are elites and age group athletes, and that's what they do. And um, some of them that I know are there and they're there to race and they're pretty serious about it and they'll go on their way. But most, you know, whether they grab the free beer at the end or the athletic brew that some of them do, or others, or grab a meal and sit down and you're there till dark, and
Yeah.
unless it's raining or it's cold, and then you find somewhere else to go huddle. But yeah, it's this obstacle course racing community is, I think, probably what keeps many people interested. I think that the social aspects of the sport itself, I think, is a key to it. I think that
Hmm.
as long as we all keep promoting the benefits of the social aspects of obstacle course racing, um, as the sport itself, I think that it can only help. I'm not a superstar athlete. I don't do these events to when I'm there to um, I'll describe it this way. When someone asks me, "How did you do?" I said, "I finished." My goal, whether it's a road race or whatever I'm doing, it's I start and I finish. And whatever happens in between, it happens. And usually when I'm doing it, I'm hanging out with a group of friends the entire time. We're pacing ourselves, we're having fun talking. Some of my best conversations have been on the mountains. Um,
Hmm.
I've, there's two friends of mine who I officiated their wedding. And one of the stories that I told at the wedding while I was officiating, which is true, was the groom, which Ashley and Ben, that's what I'm talking about, you two guys. The groom, Ben, and we during the whole race of Killington, which was many hours, he told me about his life, what was going on. I told him about my life, what was going on. And by the end, we both knew the next step, that what we were doing, with ourselves. When that's treasured time that I take, So if I look at a medal at that Killington event, whatever year that was, 2018, I think it was, great. However, that's my memories, hanging out with my friend and helping change his life and him helping change mine. So,
Which is amazing. I mean, that's when I mean some of my best friends that I call family right now, are people that I've met through OCR. I have some great, people like I said that I call family, living down here in Conroe. My, I call her my stepper sister, Jamie. I met her on the Dallas Ultra in 21.
you say you're in
Just
Conroe?
happened to, yeah.
Oh, so there's events in your town.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. Conroe Woodlands. That's
Yep.
pretty much where I am. In fact, the Texas Ironman, the full Ironman comes out of the Woodlands. So
Okay.
my friend Jamie that I just mentioned, her apartment is less than 5 minute walk from where the Ironman starts. But I'm not doing that Ironman, by the way. That's too much. I'm not doing a full yet.
So, so just a few things while we're just, the app is not just a calendar.
No.
I'll go into some of the features about it just to make sure I say them, my talking points. When you go into the app, it's not just a calendar. So within every event page, we have a button that will show you the weather at that event. And it'll literally be as you get closer to that date. So you'll know, hey, is it going to be 32 degrees and raining, or is it going to be 97 degrees and sunny? There's a way that you can get hotels in the area. They'll give you directions to where you're going. Every event, they'll give you the website in the app. The website will give you whether it will be to the website for the page, the race, or the registration page. So all of this is there right in the app itself. So it's almost like I've used the word the OCR concierge, because if let's say you get to a page in the app and then all of a sudden you just say, okay, hey, what is this? Where can I do any of this? And I'm sitting here just opening up while I talk to you just to put it up in, let's see here. Which of course you can't see because I'm blurring it, but you got the hotels, you got directions, you got weather. You could share it to your social media. You got your website there as well. This button here, if it's white, that will actually give you a direct email to the race director or the owner. It just means if it's gray, I haven't gotten permission to post their emails within the app. And that's just on the event page itself. We're in the process, like you said, the very beginning of upgrading everything. My goal very soon is to actually release what we're calling OCR Buddy 4.0, which is the fourth major generation. We're in the process of releasing an update pretty soon. It's the 358th update of the app. So from the first release, which was November 1st, 2016, we've updated and upgraded it 357 times in that many years, in 8+ years. We have released a Spanish version. So we had some people in Spain that had asked us for a Spanish version. We got that done. And so that's our first test. That's our first test language. We're revamping the menu so that we can make it easier for people to see it. We added reviews recently so people can review the various races and or brands, so people can get a better idea of what they're trying to get themselves into. So you could find yourself a trainer. We have a search where you could find yourself a trainer. You could find yourself a gym or facility. You put in your address, your hometown, and it'll show you a list in geographical order of how far away various gyms are. Granted, it's the gyms that we have in there. We're in the process all the time of adding. We're in the process of all the time of asking people to add. OCR Buddy, you can always put your own stuff in. Doesn't always have to be me. I will approve it, so you can't just put some, fake thing in there. We at least try to verify everything that we put in there. 1 or 2 does get through, but we try to verify everything that goes in. And that's just some of the basic features. You can, we list the new events, and you can filter events by, let's see here. How can you filter events? By brand, keyword, length, radius, city, county, state, number of obstacles if you really want to do that. Qualifiers for OCRWC. We're in the process of revamping that for OCRWC. And race types, tags, other stuff. So we have about 15 different filters as well. So I tell people you can find events from all over the world to event that is a obstacle event or a ninja or whatever type of event within 5 miles of your house that only has 7 or less obstacles. So
wow.
There's a lot. And like you said, we're always adding more. There's a couple things that we're working on right now that we'll wait for when we can get everything together. We're beta testing things right now. So there's a lot going on all the time with this app. And it's not just the app, it's the community. We just brought in, besides I said, Bonnie Wilson, the amazing Bonnie Wilson. If anybody ever needs someone for social media, contact Bonnie. You could always
Bonnie's amazing.
You could always get to her through us at OCR Buddy. Trust me, Bonnie will help you. We also brought in Mariel Pauline, Just Mar on Instagram. She's going to help us with some of our sponsorship and partnerships. She is one of our ambassadors also. We have our ambassador program, which sometime in the next 2 months, we will do our next year's version. Usually it's supposed to be 1 year, but they always end up as 17 months because of me.
It happens.
I just don't get to it in time. We have 55 ambassadors from 12 different countries around the world, from right here in the States out to Australia. We had one in India, Malaysia, United Kingdom, Austria, Germany, Spain, Chile. So we're all over there. And so it's a lot. It really is a lot that we're doing, and always trying to expand. And I will say this will be my pitch, that we did also just release something called Buy Me a Coffee, which is similar to Patreon. However, we think the platform is a little bit better and less expensive to use, and for the expenses and for the fees. After 10 years, it has been a little expensive to do OCR Buddy. I fund it all myself. There are monthly fees. There's a variety of different things that we do. And, we'll post a link if you can. If you appreciate, we can post a link to what that is. And
I can do
help
that.
me out, I'd appreciate it. Nothing's going to stop. I'm going to keep doing it. But my goal is to try to make OCR Buddy self-funding, I should say, I guess is probably better English. And I pledge and I vow that any penny above cost will go right back into the community in forms of sponsorships, donations, helping athletes, helping brands. Anything I can do will go right back. Again, stuff that I'm already doing. But after 10 years, I have twin daughters who are 11 years old now. I have Mrs. OCR Buddy to worry about. I got a house, all these various things that I'm trying a little bit now to delay the cost of a little bit. So that will be my pitch to, as they say, to buy me a coffee. That's also new with OCR Buddy.
Yeah. I could,
Take a breath.
it's one of those things. It gets to be a lot. I mean, that was one of the big things that I ran into for a long time with me was, it just gets to be a lot. Luckily for me, we're empty nesters. Well, by the time this comes out, we may not be an empty nester anymore. There may be one coming back, but it is what it is. But
And it's and again, it's my first discussion ever about an app for this was in February of 2015. So I'm actually, it's going to be 10 years since the idea came into my mind and started talking to people about it. And it wasn't until November of 2016 that we released the app. So for 20 months, we were developing something that started with 4 countries and one race type, which was obstacle racing. Now we've had events listed in over 70 countries, 40 something thousand events, over 12,000 downloads. And we have, in hybrid and with DECA and Hyrox and RX1 and Fitletics out in Germany and other brands. That hybrid functional fitness community is huge.
Mm-hmm.
The Ninja community that I'm involved with, not just through OCR Buddy, but through USAocr, is a community that's tremendous. Just keeping up with that is in itself, between all the various leagues that go on around the world, and is a task all in itself. So the amount of time that goes into this is tremendous. And sometimes people ask me, how do I do it? And I don't know, but I have some help with some of those things. But it really is, it's an amazing thing that if I really think about it, the last 10 years of my life, I've been doing OCR Buddy, and just to see, I'll say that it's really cool to see a guy in Spain, Javier Navarro, do a video in Spanish in an OCR Buddy t-shirt, or Christian down in Australia doing videos, and just seeing my logo which we developed, which is behind you on the screen behind you, just like literally around the world. Um, it's humbling. It's really cool. And, I once got a picture from two guys at a gym in Massachusetts and a text message that they didn't know each other, but they both went to the gym wearing a t-shirt. Just, I don't know.
It's always weird because I can remember the one thing like for me is, um, like wearing the Spartan stuff. I mean, there's so many times you like walk into the gym and you see someone and you never know. You'll be like, Aru, and they're like, look at you like you're a lunatic, or they'll Aru back. So it's like, you never
I
know.
saw a guy, I saw a guy walking in a Spartan shirt somewhere in New York, and I'm like, "What's your profession?" He goes, "I dig ditches." I'm like, "Great, okay."
It's
You're
like,
wearing a
no,
Spartan shirt, I guess he didn't understand. Or in the
did
tough,
not understand the assignment.
or if they're in the Tough Mudder shirt, and you know, um, you know, Sean Carville is what is amazing, and when he's done Tough Mudders, and if you can't swim, don't go in the water. So see someone in a Tough Mudder shirt, and you go, if you can't swim, what? Forget it.
Yeah,
You
I
try,
get it.
you try.
It's one of those things you kind of, it's weird because you'll find the people that are, or like really part of the community, and then other people that like did a race.
Yeah, and you know
So,
what? Listen,
which
those people
all of them are
are
great,
fantastic. Those people, you
every
know,
one of them.
I tell everybody who I know who ask me about it, and I say, just try it. You'll
Hmm.
either love it or you'll hate it and never want to do it again. Whether it's 20 degrees out and you're doing it, 100 degrees out, you'll either love it or you'll never want to do it again, but at least try it.
Yeah.
Because, whether you're doing a small mom and pop 5K local OCR or you're doing, world's toughest mudder, try it because you never know how you're going to finish, and you never know how you're going to feel when you finish.
And you never know how you're gonna like whether you're gonna like it or not. It's one of those things that until you try, you don't know. That's one thing I do miss is I used to be like way more into Spartan and stuff where I had like I was part of the street team, which I don't think even really exists anymore, and all that
Mhm.
stuff where I could get like free races, and I'd end up with more free races than I could use. So I'd sit there and get people all the time like, oh, I'd love to do one of those, but they're so expensive. I'm like, here's a free race. What's excuse number two?
Right.
Come on, let's go. Come do one with me. Here's a free race. And I got so many people to come out and do them. And some of them did one race and they were like, this isn't for me. And I'm like, cool, you tried. And other people that are doing have outdone me on races now. So it
Yeah.
just amazes me to see how just getting someone out there and doing one of these races can change their life. And that's what I love about OCR Buddy because I can look it up and say, oh, hey, here's a local one. You think Spartan's going to be too hard for you? Let's go do this local race. You can check it out, see if you like it. You may think, nope, this isn't for me. Or you may be like, this was a blast. Let's try one of the other ones.
And the
Never
other
know.
thing that's cool is that um, you don't know if you can get over an inverted wall until you try to get over an inverted wall. Well,
Hmm.
one of my best friends who I've met was at Barry. She couldn't get over the inverted wall, and I showed her how to do it. And that's how we met. But it's she's also like 5'1", so the Spartan inverted walls are pretty hard for people who aren't as tall as others. But it's you're like, wow, I didn't know I could climb a rope, or I didn't know I could get over an 8-foot wall. It's there are things that it's not just the race itself, but it's a little victories, and this is me. It's a little victories inside each one of those. Um, each race, there's each obstacle is a victory. Each mile you run is a victory. Every time you carry a tire or a sandbag or a log or whatever you have to carry, there's victories. Like I'm not gonna be able to carry, two sandbags up and down this hill. And guess what? Somehow or another, you end up back where you started from and you completed it. And
Hmm.
so yeah, it's it definitely is. Um definitely is something that is definitely embedded in my soul here. Definitely.
It is, and it's an amazing thing. I mean, the OCR is just such a great sport. And like I said, I know I've mentioned that I do the triathlons a little bit more now, just because I wanted a different challenge and to see something different. But my heart and soul is still OCR. I love OCR, and OCR will always be. I mean, I'll always be out there with more heart than scars, stuff like that. But I do the triathlon just because I wanted to be able to say I did one. I want to say I did an Ironman.
Yeah. One day I want to do a marathon. Not tomorrow, but one day I want to do a marathon. One day.
I've done one, and the one thing that
I know
gets me
you've
too
done.
is
I saw your journey on it. I saw your, you know, it's your posts of when you built up to that, and it was. I remember it was like it looked like it was always looked like it was 1,000 degrees every time you were running,
it's because I
or
was sweating like crazy because
yeah.
I was a
So,
big
but
boy.
yeah, that's I think it's something we both have in common. We've lost a lot of weight in our lives, but
But that's the one thing a lot of people forget too is, I mean, even at big, I mean, that was the one thing that people got surprised about. Even when I was 310 pounds, like bender, I could do fine. Like
yeah,
where I've met people that are like 120 and can't do it, but at 310, I could still do bender because the upper body strength was always
yeah,
there. So don't think just because you're big, you can't. Because I mean, I did Spartans at 310 and then I lost all the weight and went down to 180. Now I'm about 250. Um, just because I kind of needed a break there. I pushed so hard for so long that my body just kind of went, "You're done," and I'm working my way back there, pushing hard over the last couple months to get back to where I should be. But I mean, it's one of those things we have those up and downs, and a lot of people forget, "Oh, hey, I'm not in the right shape for that." All shapes do it. I've seen people bigger than me at 310 doing it, and do what you can. It's like they always say in Spartan, when you go in the open race, run your race. It's the same way with a lot of the local smaller ones. Run your race.
So I'll tell a quick story, Tough Mudder story. So they used to do Tough Mudders out here on Long Island, which is where I'm from, Long Island, as if you couldn't tell by the accent. So they used to do them here, and there was a time I was doing it with. I had just within the last. I remember it was either I was just 6 months after surgery or 6 months needing shoulder surgery, and I was with a buddy who also needed shoulder surgery on his other arm, and another guy I knew. So we're all doing it, and there was in front of us at Everest 2.0 was a guy who had to be 6'7", had to be 400 easily. Big guy. And he ran, couldn't get up the ramp, and then he just went off to the side. So I always thought that he went and just kept going. So me and my friends, we get up, and every time I do Everest, I always stay at the top for about 5 minutes. Always. I think it's
Hmm.
just important enough to help people, let them know that you're there for them. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking down and I look out there and there's this guy. And I get see him standing there and just people are running by him. I get his attention and I do one of these. And he looks at me like, me? I'm like, come on. So I tell my friend, I'm like, listen, there's people there. I'm like, listen, guys, grab my ankles, hold on to me, sit on my friend, sit on us. He runs up and I got one arm and my friend got the other, both with the arms that we either had surgery for or needed surgery. I don't remember which one it was. So we're reaching, pulling him up, and and he's hanging and he's trying every bit. We have people diving over trying to get his legs, and they made a pyramid at the bottom of 3, 2, and 1 to help push him up and over. So we got him over, and we all cheered or whatever. And the guy gave me a hug, and he just whispered in my ear, "Thank you so much."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Dude, thank you." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Just you let me help you." And like, just you telling that story about big guys, like that guy, I never saw him after that. We went down the hill. He probably stayed up. We went down the back of the about the back of the obstacle. He probably stayed up and helped people after that. He may have been there the rest of the day. I never saw him again ever. But maybe, just maybe, I helped change his life. Maybe. But I know that that he affected me and made my helping him worth it. So it doesn't matter your body type, doesn't matter your size,
No,
doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're from. When it comes to that kind of sport, we're all the same. We just want to get over the next obstacle. We just want to cross the finish line. Um,
Yes, we do.
so
What's
yeah,
funny is you
so
mentioned Everest, and Everest is the one, and I hate to say it, but it's the one that I have the biggest problem helping people. Because some people know this, some don't. In 2021, right before I did Dallas Ultra, I broke a rib
I broke one.
on Everest.
Ah,
I was in there, and
rugged maniac.
it was 2 weeks before the Dallas Ultra, and I turned around to help someone, and I didn't get in the right position as I grabbed them, so the edge of the wall hit me right here on the rib and actually snapped one of my ribs, like cracked it.
Oh,
And I finished the race. I mean, at first I thought, I'm like, okay, I felt something. I think I'm okay. I think I'm good. And I reached up and I can't remember what the next obstacle was, but it was a hanging obstacle. And the second I put weight on my right side, it just felt like someone stuck a knife in my side. And I'm like,
mhm.
oh no, I did something bad. This isn't good. So I finished the race, went to the doctor like 2 days later, and they're like, yeah, you cracked a rib.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, awesome. So, of course, me being me, I didn't stop doing Dallas. I still did Dallas 2 weeks later. But I will tell you, there was one point when I tried to do what was it, the Irish table, or whatever they call it, where you jump up on it. I
Yeah.
jumped up and I hit that wall. And the person I was running with, Jamie, my supper sister down here, she said she thought I was gonna pass out. I hit the ground and she said she saw my eyes roll back in the back of my head. I'm like, I just hit that rib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing a rugged maniac, and for those that don't, rugged maniac ended with a quarter pipe like Everest, and
Mhm.
then a rope. It's not a ladder climb, but it's a loose rope climb up. Then you go up another ladder and then down a slide. That's how rugged maniac typically ended. So I was going up the quarter pipe and I didn't ask for help, but a guy grabbed my two wrists and pulled me up. And as I got near the top, he let go and dropped me on my ribs on the 4x4. So I cracked my rib, and now I'm up there knowing that I just cracked a rib. I can't breathe. Now I know I have to either go down and walk or climb up the rope net, then climb up the ladder, then slide down. The final picture of me, and I can't find it, is just me on down, coming down the slide. It's just me like this in pain, looking down, just holding it. And I went to the tent and they were like, you might have a punctured lung. Could we take you to the hospital? I'm like, no, I'll drive myself. I drove an hour home to the hospital, like holding my ribs, like holding my body, and driving like this. Oh, not one of the smartest moves.
No,
Not
ribs are the worst. I
oh,
broke my ribs twice. So,
yeah. So yeah. But before I forget, um, and before we run out of time, I want to talk about USAocr also.
mhm.
Um, so we're recording this on January 20th. And the reason
Yes.
I say that is tomorrow on January 21st is our annual meeting, our annual USAocr meeting. We're actually selecting new executive board members. I am not trying to be on the executive board because I do too much already. But the just reason I say that is that it is another volunteer organization that I am part of. USAocr's goal is to promote obstacle sports in the United States. Have we had the best reputation over the years? No. And I've been involved since 2018. I think I'm the only person who's been involved since that time, actually. But what we've been doing over the last couple of years has been a lot of work and on the precipice of doing some great things. We talked about Megan before with what she's doing with the development committee. She's working hard. Whoops. She's trying to get a full-time 100-meter course built in the United States. 100-meter is part of World Obstacles, 3 lengths of events, and 100-meter is probably the tremendous. Well, there's 3 types of events, but it's so competitive, that world, that 100-meter world, because it's not just OCR people, it's ninja people. She's been
Mhm.
doing fantastic work with that. I am, as the athlete chair, I am in charge of getting the applications out and selecting the USAocr national teams. So if you go to the USAocr website right now, our applications are open until February 14th for the 100-meter, for the 3K, which is also called the short course, and the 15K, the standard course. We have elite and age group applications. They're both in one. You just have to apply one at a time. And para applications are coming out soon. There will be the registrations for that. So para athletes, we did not forget you, I promise. And so this is definitely for selecting for Sweden. The World Obstacle UIPM OCR World Championships this year is in Sweden and Gothenburg, and it's being produced by the company, the brand Toughest, which, guys, check out what they do. It's amazing what they do. They do some crazy stuff out there. They're fantastic. It is September 11th to the 14th, somewhere around then. I'm doing that out of the top of my mind, which happens to be also the same weekend as Killington, if you're going there. But so we're selecting, that's the main point of how we're choosing our team. However, there are other possible events that USAocr team members can be and will be able to go to. One, which is the Continental Championships, the Pan American Continental Championships, which are going to be held in Costa Rica this year in May. There's going to be more information coming out pretty soon about that. So we're trying to pick teams, male and female, elite age group. Please go to the website, usaocr.org, and you find national team. So it should be right there on the cover, on the front page. Just click it. I'll take you to the page. All the information is there. We just want to choose. We want people to apply because they want to represent their country. This is, whether there are people that have their feelings about USAocr. And listen, I speak to people all the time about it, and some positive, some negative, some have no feeling at all. And I get all of it. However, this is our national federation, and we are choosing our national team. I can tell you that speaking to the people who went to Costa Rica last year and Belgium the year before and got to wear team uniforms, and those people who won and heard their national anthem playing, people told me how cool that is. And you apply, you get chosen, you get selected. There is a selection criteria. It's all out there. There's a way that we choose the athletes. It's all, we're very transparent. It's not like it's a hiding thing. It's not like secret names are being selected in the background. Unless you apply, you can't go. So, it's an honor. People have told me that it's been a great experience, from the 100-meter athletes up through the 15Ks. I've heard nothing but great stuff about the experiences that they've had, the events. I think that, I don't judge the events. I'm not there. I just know what I've heard. I've heard good and bad things about each of the past two, Costa Rica and Belgium. But we also helped send some people to Croatia for the Spartan 100-meter championship. We helped choose a couple of people to go to Dubai for the Dubai World Obstacle Championship. So being part of the national team isn't just, hey, I'm going to Sweden. There's other opportunities as well. And applications are closing on February 14th. Our goal is to have the names released on or about the first week in March, but we'll also tell the athletes earlier than that so they can start going out themselves and telling potential sponsors, try to raise money to get to the events. Hey, listen, I'm going to be on the national team, so can you help me out? Can you want to sponsor me? Those kind of things. And very excited. This time for me is, I'm guilty of checking every other day or so and seeing how many applications have come in. Just so people are aware, as it comes in, I am the only person who can see all of the names up front. Unless there's a reason, we do keep the names anonymous, unless there's a reason we need to see who's what, because people apply for waivers. So we have to see who it is, but we do our best to keep it anonymous. So they don't know if it's, Russ Blatt or Hunter McIntyre based upon, you might know it based upon the application, but you're not going to know it because of the application, I should say. The name, so it's an exciting time for me personally to get all these athletes in. We have the chat groups and between the athletes that are there and their excitement levels. We have kids young as 10 years old that went to Costa Rica and talking to their parents about the experiences that imagine being 10 or 11 years old and competing in a 100-meter or 3K race in a foreign country. Just imagine that. These
Very
kids
pretty
are
cool.
doing it. So it's, if it interests you, you can also go in an open event, but you have to be part of the national team to register for the elite or age group events, and that comes after selection. So there's my push for USAocr. As I said, I am the athlete chair. I've been with the USAocr for years. If you have any questions, you can message me through Facebook or through Instagram. You can get me at just easy ways to at OCR Buddy. If you have questions about OCR Buddy, you can do that too. And I will be glad to help you and answer your questions. And you went to the national championship that we had last year in 2024. We're not going to have one in 25. We're actually focusing on doing a new one, a one in 2026, because we want to do something better. And we think that if we did one, the goals are going to be early in the year. We think that if we did one in 2025, it might be pushed and forced. And although that may not be the best way to do it, it's just not the right way to do it.
No.
So at least that's our focus now is, and believe it or not, we're already getting our list of brands together that we may want to work with in 2026. And we're 20 days into 2025 already. So
yeah, start planning ahead.
It's it's just like anything else with this whole sport in general, is that you could see not your specific future, but you could see down the line with some brands folding, some brands coming back, some people leaving the sport, some people coming back to the sport. And it's fluid, and it's obviously when the negative things happen, it's not so cool, but to hear, and it's blanking off the top of my head which brand it is. Hey, we're coming back in 2025. Oh, like Conquer the Gauntlet down near where you are. They all through 2024, they advertised, hey, this is our last event. And guess what? Just a week before they announced, we were sold. We're coming back in 2025. Now they have 2 events. They just announced the second one. I think it was in Oklahoma. Fit Challenge up here in the Northeast. Rob shut down in 2023. He said, listen, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's 23 or early 24, I forget. But guess what? May 5th this year, Fit Challenge is back. So people come and go, and it's exciting when the good things happen. And I think that the whole community itself just eats it up, because we all want, in the end, this sport to grow, the people in it to succeed, the brands to flourish, the sponsors to get recognition, the drinks, the nutrition, the clothing, all these companies that are involved and have the faith in our sport. We want them all just to know that it was worth it, and it was a benefit and a positive. So, just stuff like that just makes it worth it, and it makes it a very cool thing. And I think it's one of the reasons that everyone who's involved loves this sport. So I talk a lot.
You do, but that's kind of the point of a podcast. So, you mentioned a minute ago, we are getting tight on time. So is there any last thing you want to say to the listeners before we head out?
Download the app, check it out. OCR Buddy. You can find us on the App Store. You can find us at Google Play. Download the app, check it out. One thing that I appreciate from users is constructive criticism. If there is something that I can do better for you, tell me. I will try. Most of the upgrades and most of the improvements have come from a suggestion. Someone said to me once, literally in passing, man, I wish I knew what the weather was, what it was going to be like, because I thought it was going to, I would think it was going to be sunny, and it rained. And I went, holy cow. Within the next update, weather was in the app, finding just anything that you guys, anybody out there says, hey, listen, can you do this? Finding Spanish, putting Spanish, same kind of thing. Someone mentioned, people, not everyone can translate English so well. So download the app, give it a shot. See what is there for you. And again, it's not just obstacle OCR. Obstacle sports is hybrid. Obstacle sports is ninja. We have trail races in there. We have road races in there. We have some of the inflatables in there and the foam races and expanding all the time, adventure races. So we do everything we can to get these events to you so your calendar is as complete as can be. And if there's events that we're missing, tell me as well, or put it into the app yourself. It's a community app, and I love doing it, and I appreciate, and I'm humbled by it all the time. And just to come over here and to speak about it for, I don't even know what time it is, speak about it for an hour and 10 minutes or whatever we've been doing this. It's just amazing. And I appreciate it and I love it. And I thank you.
Oh, yeah. And you're welcome anytime. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I love OCR Buddy. I love what it does for the community. I love how it's, like I said, you can find races around you that you never would have thought of. And that's the one thing, I go back to triathlon. Triathlon does have kind of like the USA Triathlon where you can look at it and say, okay, hey, what triathlons are in my area? And it's okay. It's not really accurate, but it gives you an idea. Where there was nothing like that for OCR until you came along and made OCR Buddy. And now OCR Buddy's probably, I mean, if you want to find an OCR in your area, this is the best way to do it.
I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, I only speak the truth.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you, Russ. I'm going to let you get out so you can enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'm going to go take a nap.
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Mike, Hammer, and Don, or whatever.
From BeachNet.